Hi there, my name is Nick Nason. I'm an immigration lawyer and owner of Edgewater Legal, a law firm specialising in UK immigration law. Today we are going to be looking at the English language requirement in the partner visa application route. So this guidance covers anyone applying to come to the UK as a fiance, proposed civil partner, spouse, civil partner, unmarried partner, same-sex partner of a British citizen or a person settled in the UK. So what's coming up? We're going to look at what the rules say. We're going to look at the level of English required to make the application, depending on where you are in your immigration journey and what that actually looks like in terms of the level you need to achieve. We're going to be looking at the documents you might need to provide to show that you meet the requirement, for example, via a test, as you can see on your screen, and the reference numbers relevant to an application. We're going to be looking at the documents you might have to provide if you're relying on an academic qualification, depending on where the course of study took place. And finally, we're going to look at some possible issues we've come across when reviewing applications in this route, like, for example, missing references and what to do about that. So a bit about us. We're a law firm based in London, specialising in UK immigration law, and we've reviewed and managed a lot of UK partner visa applications. So we've got significant experience in this area. I'll say what I say to everyone, which is that it should be possible to make your application in most cases without engaging a lawyer, as long as you're prepared to put the time and effort in to do your own research about the relevant rules and guidance and documents you need to provide. And I know this, having checked or managed several hundred partner visa applications in my capacity as a lawyer, but also having gone through the process personally, falling in love with and marrying a non-British spouse, and then having to go through the visa process ourselves. You can see how happy we were here before we started the visa application process. So having applied for entry clearance and then permission to stay, and finally indefinite leave to remain, you can see my wife smiling less with each application. I totally get the stress involved in this process, arising not only from the cost and the risks of something going wrong, but also just the rank kind of unfairness of having to go through all of this simply to live with the person that you love in your own country. So we are big fans at this firm of people being able to apply without using a lawyer, and are acutely aware of the huge cost involved in this process, and we don't want to add to this unnecessarily. And that's why you'll find on our website and YouTube channel a stack of other free resources to help with your partner visa application process. And if that helps you make your application without needing to pay for a lawyer or pay anyone any more money, then that will make me and everyone else at this firm very happy. So feel free to like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel to help other people find these resources. So saying all that, in many cases, maybe because your situation is not straightforward or the rules are not clear, or both, these resources won't provide all the answers you're going to need to make your application safely. Alternatively, given the stress of the process, you might feel like you need some additional reassurance before submission to make sure everything is as it should be. And if you're in either of these two positions, then can I give a quick shout out to our one-off consultation service, where we review your draft form and supporting documents and then go through everything on a Zoom call to check it's in order. As I say, this is a remote session via Zoom, so we can do this with you wherever you are in the world. And I should say that this service also includes a template covering letter, which we provide to you to complete in draft, along with a video guide, which covers the kind of things you need to put in it, and which we then review and can work on if there's time in the session itself with the rest of your documents. So the best way of getting in touch with us to arrange this is by typing one-off consultation into Google and then selecting Edgewater Legal from the listings, and then you can send us a message via the website to tell us what help you need. So final point, we've done our best to ensure that the content of this video is accurate at the time of recording. We're providing general guidance here to help with your application. It's not legal advice. These processes can have some complexities, and we're focusing here on the key points and don't cover all the rules and guidance that you might need to know. And because of that, and because the rules and guidance may have changed by the time you watch this, we've prepared a written blog post version of this video with links to all the guidance and rules referred to on our website. So make sure you check this out for any updates to the guidance or rules that we've discussed. Okay, so let's get to it. A quick bit of background. You might be wondering, why do you even need to do an English language requirement? Well, Ryan, let me tell you. It was in response to negative press headlines like these in the late 2000s. And there has actually been a challenge to the whole idea of the requirement. And that was heard by the Supreme Court in a case called Ali and Bibi in 2014. But this challenge wasn't successful. And the English language requirement in partner visas survived. That's the Supreme Court, by the way. And so I'm going to tell you about what the current requirement comprises of over the course of the next 15 minutes or so. Okay, so really important question is, what is the level of English required? And the answer to that is, it depends on where you are in your immigration journey. And the level is measured by something called the CEFR framework, which is summarized here. So in the first partner visa application, so either from within the UK or from outside, so applicants must show they meet the level A1 CEFR or above, unless an exemption applies. So the first thing that you can see from this chart is that, confusingly, A1 it sounds like it should be at the top, as in the most proficient, but in fact it's at the bottom of the ability scale. So you can see that A1 is described as elementary. And another key point to understand is that applicants are only tested on their speaking and listening, so not their reading and writing. So this is a description of what a A1 level user needs to be able to achieve. So you can see, understand kind of common everyday expressions, simple phrases. So it's quite a kind of elementary level. So generally in the extension application, so after you get entry clearance or the first portion of leave to stay as a partner, you'll have to do an extension. And in that extension, the requirement goes up to A2, which is slightly more advanced than A1, as described here. And then at the stage of applying for indefinite leave to remain or settlement in the partner route, you have to pass a test at B1, which is the next level up. So you can see on the left there, A1, A2, B1. So that's entry clearance, extension, settlement for those three. And you can see that's described as more of an independent user at an intermediate level. And again, it's important to emphasize it's just based on your speaking and listening skills for each of these three stages, not on your reading or your writing. So something to bear in mind is that if you're in a position to meet the B1 level at the outset, i.e. in your first application, then if you can do that, then it means you won't have to continue taking or two more tests as you go through the process. So how can you meet the requirement? So broadly, you've got three options, and we're going to go through each one. The most straightforward one first. So if you hold nationality of one of the countries on the Home Office list, you'll be deemed to meet the English language requirement as a national of a majority English-speaking country. So if you're from one of these countries, you will automatically meet the English language requirement. So you can use your passport to confirm your nationality of one of the countries listed, and which you would usually be sending with your application anyway. So option 2, you can meet the English language requirement if you have the equivalent of a UK bachelor's, master's or PhD that was taught in English. So the key thing to understand is what evidence needs to be provided of this, and which depends mainly on where the academic qualification was awarded. So there's 3 sub-options that you can see here, and we're just going to run through each one. So if the degree was awarded in the UK, so a bachelor's, master's or PhD, you only need to provide one document, which is the degree certificate itself. And so the rules specify what the degree certificate should contain, and most degree certificates will contain all this information, these 4 points here: name, title of award, date of award, and the name of the institution. But it's just useful just to go through and make sure that all of these boxes are ticked. This is an example of degree certificate with the requirements ticked off, and another one there. In certain circumstances, if the degree certificate is not available, an academic transcript or a reference letter which contains certain specified information can be provided. But it's important to review whether the alternative document, so let's say you've lost your degree certificate and you've got a transcript, or you can get a letter from the university, it's important to check whether this alternative document would meet the requirements of the rules. So you can see that the rules here set out what the transcript or reference letter needs to contain. And so I've got an example transcript here, which shows the applicant's name, the institution, the course title, but arguably it's not on official letterheaded paper, and it definitely doesn't confirm that the institution is unable to reissue the certificate. So I would be nervous about relying on this, for example. Here's another example of a transcript which doesn't meet all the requirements. Again, it would probably be a harsh decision to refuse on this basis, but the idea in these applications is to try and reduce the risk of something going wrong, as far as possible. Okay, so option 2, you can meet the requirement by having a degree level qualification awarded outside the UK in one of a list of specified English speaking countries. So the benefit of the degree being awarded in one of the specified English speaking countries is that you don't need to provide evidence that it was taught in English. It will just be assumed that it was. So this is the list of countries where this will be assumed, and you'll note that it's slightly different from the previous majority English speaking country list. The main difference being it doesn't include Canada. So if you've got a degree from one of these countries listed, you need to provide the degree certificate or a suitable alternative that we've discussed, plus a confirmation from ECTIS that the qualification meets or exceeds the recognised standard of a bachelor's, master's or PhD in the UK. So what is ECTIS? Well, Mr. President, ECTIS is the name of a company which the Home Office has authorised to assess if your overseas academic qualification would be considered equivalent to a UK bachelor's, master's or PhD, and for which it provides something called a qualification level statement. It also assesses the English level that would have been required to complete the qualification on the CEFR scale, and it provides a statement on this as well. You might have or heard reference to an organisation called UK NARIC. That's the organisation that previously held the contract. Now it's ECTIS. So what do these documents or statements look like? This is an example of an academic qualification level statement. The document is issued by ECTIS to confirm that you have your overseas academic qualification and that it's the equivalent of a UK bachelor's, master's or PhD. You can see the UK qualification level listed here as a master's degree in this example document. So even if your degree was awarded by, for example, a university in the US, the rules still require that you get this equivalency document. So if you're in this category of applicants, then you need to contact ECTIS, provide them with the documents they request, including the degree certificate, and then they go through their process and provide you with a statement, which you put in with your application as a supporting document. So just to reiterate what you're going to need for option 2B, so if you've got a degree from Ireland or New Zealand or the US, as we said, or one of the others on that list, you would need to provide with your application a degree certificate and the statement from ECTIS confirming it's the equivalent of a UK bachelor's, master's or PhD. Okay, so the final option is what we're going to call option 2C, where your degree was awarded outside the UK and where the study took place in a country not on the list of specified English speaking countries, but where you were still taught in English in the study itself. So the rules require that you obtain an English language proficiency statement in addition to the AQUAL statement, the qualification equivalency statement. So the English language proficiency document looks like this, that you can see, and you can see that the English language level here is described. They've performed an evaluation of your qualification in this example, and they say the level of English language for the above degree course is considered to be CEFR level B1. So that means it can be relied upon throughout the immigration journey all the way through to settlement. So you can see it also has a different title to the one that we previously looked at, and its purpose is to provide an assessment of that English language level. So in summary, if your qualification was taught in English at an institution outside of the UK, but not in a specified English country, so you've got a degree that was taught in English in Russia or Tunisia or China, then you need to provide 3 documents with your application: degree certificate, academic qualification level statement from ECTIS, plus the English language proficiency confirmation from ECTIS also. So if you can't meet the requirements by being a national of a English-speaking country or having a specified academic qualification, then you can still meet the requirement by passing a qualifying English language test. So the most important thing to note about taking a test is that you can't just take any test. And one of the reasons why the Home Office is so strict on the requirements for taking a test are again due to negative press reports that test providers were found to have assisted takers in cheating on tests in 2014, and as a result, the Home Office introduced additional requirements for test takers, shaping the rather overbearing requirement that we've got today. And the strictness of the requirements have not been rolled back, it seems, in light of further reports that the actual amount of cheating appears to have been quite small, and that the Home Office appears to have overreacted to some extent. But either way, the end result is that the Home Office will only accept specific tests administered by specific providers in specific locations. So you have to take an approved test, and the approved tests are listed in the guidance. So at the time of recording, these are the approved tests at A1 level, and it's up to you which one to take. You can take any one, they'll all be valid. So it's important to check the up-to-date guidance when you apply, and you can have a look at our written blog version of this video for links to the relevant guidance on that. So these are the A2 tests. When you get the test certificate, you should have a reference on it, and which you then kind of enter into the application form. This is the guidance, again accurate at the time of recording, on the reference that you'd need to include in the online form. So if your certificate or test report form does not have one of these references, then you've either taken the wrong test or something else has gone wrong with the production of the certificate. So here's what the certificates look like with the unique reference number highlighted. This is Pearson and Trinity and language cert. So remember that the Home Office list of permissible providers does change from time to time, as do the format of these certificates. So it's really important to check the up-to-date guidance. And sometimes, very kind of seldom, but sometimes you might find that the certificate does not have the required reference. Perhaps it was downloaded in the wrong way from the online portal, which some providers are doing now. So like here, for example, for some reason the UER, which is what it's called in Trinity, didn't make it through into the downloaded PDF. Would this document have been enough to satisfy the English language requirement? We don't know for sure because we didn't submit it. And as it states in its public-facing guidance, the procedure that the Home Office would follow in this case is not known in terms of it's an internal guidance on online verification systems. But it would be likely that a caseworker receiving this as part of an application they probably had to take an additional step to verify the document. So it might create an increased risk of refusal or delay in the application. And so with the general aim in applications to make the caseworker's life as easy as possible, we'd recommend contacting the test provider in the first instance to deal with any issues like that, rather than leaving the Home Office to sort it out. So how long can you use one of these tests for? In the vast majority of cases, in order to meet the requirement in this way, you need to have passed the test in the last 2 years. It might be possible to rely on a test older than 2 years if you've already shown that you met the requirement in a previous successful application for entry clearance or permission to stay. However, this is not always straightforward. It's not a straightforward part of the requirement to navigate, and it may depend on where and when you took the previous test. So to be sure to check the relevant guidance carefully if you intend to rely on a test that was taken more than 2 years ago. Okay, so there are some exemptions from meeting the English language requirement, which I'm going to cover not going to cover in detail, but in brief. If you're over 65 at the date of the application, if you have a disability, you may be able to argue that you should be exempt. The criteria set out in the guidance. Again, we've provided links in the blog post version of this presentation where further information is available if you're going to need to rely on any of these exemptions. And finally, exceptional circumstances which prevent you from meeting the requirement as described here. For example, the Home Office may accept that you were exempt if there's a war going on in your country, or you've been hospitalised for several months prior to making it, or you have caring responsibilities, as in it says here, full-time carer of a disabled child, also applying to come to the UK. So it's quite a high threshold for an exemption to be granted. So if you're intending to rely on any of these exemptions, it might be worth getting some advice when preparing your application. So final point is looking at further resources for you. As discussed, you'll find on our website and YouTube channel a bunch of resources to help with your partner visa application process. And if you would like an application reviewed prior to submission, then check out our one-off consultation service, which you can find by typing one-off consultation into Google. And last key point, which is that there is a written version of this blog post on our site with links to all the guidance and rules referred to. So make sure that you check this out for any updates to the guidance or rules discussed. And if you found this video helpful, then please don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. Thanks very much for watching, and best of luck with your application.